There is a quiet battle being waged in the bodies of millions of people over the age of 60. It's a silent, gradual process, often unnoticed until the day a pickle jar refuses to open, a flight of stairs feels like a monumental climb, or a simple trip on a rug results in a life-altering fall. This battle is the fight for our muscle, and by extension, the fight for our strength, our balance, and our very independence. For generations, we have been told that this slow decline into frailty is an inevitable part of aging, a non-negotiable tax on a long life. But what if that story is wrong? What if the most powerful tool to halt this decline, to rebuild our physical foundation, has been sitting on our plates all along, misunderstood and often underconsumed? This is a conversation about the truth about protein. It's not about bodybuilding or fad diets. It is about understanding the single most important nutrient for your muscular health as you age. The reality is that the common wisdom of the past, that seniors should eat light, simple meals, may be the very thing that accelerates weakness. Today we are going to dismantle the myths, fears, and misconceptions surrounding protein. We will explore what science tells us about the unique protein needs of an aging body, and provide a clear, practical guide to harnessing its power. This isn't just about food. It's about rewriting the narrative of aging from one of inevitable decline to one of sustained strength and vitality. To truly appreciate the role of protein, we must first understand the adversary we are facing. It has a scientific name, sarcopenia, which literally means poverty of the flesh. It is the age-related, progressive loss of skeletal muscle mass and function. Think of your muscles as a bustling city. In your youth, the construction crews are fast and efficient, constantly repairing and building new structures. As we age, this process changes. The construction crews become a bit slower, a bit less responsive, and at the same time, the natural rate of daily wear and tear, or demolition, continues or even increases. If you don't provide enough raw materials, the bricks and mortar, the city slowly begins to shrink and crumble. The buildings become less stable. This is sarcopenia in a nutshell. It's a slow-motion erosion of our physical capacity, and it is the primary reason why seniors are at a higher risk of falls. Strong muscles in our legs and core are our personal shock absorbers and stabilizers. They are what allow us to catch our balance when we trip, to stand up from a low chair with ease, and to carry a bag of groceries without feeling unsteady. When these muscles weaken, our world begins to shrink. We may stop visiting friends because the walk is too tiring, or give up a hobby because we no longer feel physically capable. This loss of muscle also has profound metabolic consequences. Muscle is a metabolically active tissue. It burns calories even when we are at rest. As we lose muscle, our metabolism slows down, making it much easier to gain fat, even if we're not eating more. This shift in body composition increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, as muscle plays a crucial role in managing blood sugar. Sarcopenia is the root cause of much of what we fear about aging, but the empowering truth is this: it is not a one-way street. We have the power to intervene, and our primary tool for intervention is protein. This leads us to the most critical and counterintuitive fact of this entire discussion. As we get older, our bodies need more protein, not less, to achieve the same amount of muscle maintenance. This phenomenon is known as anabolic resistance. Anabolic simply means to build up. As we age, our muscles become resistant, or less sensitive, to the signals that tell them to grow and repair. One of the most powerful of these signals is the consumption of protein. Think of it this way. When you were 30, eating a chicken breast sent a loud, clear signal to your muscles. Build. The construction crew heard it loud and clear and got right to work. When you are 70, that same chicken breast sends a much quieter signal, more like a whisper. The construction crew is a bit hard of hearing and might not even notice the delivery of new bricks. To get their attention, you need to send a louder signal. You need to provide a slightly larger dose of protein to overcome this resistance and effectively trigger muscle protein synthesis, the scientific term for the muscle building process. This is why the old advice to eat smaller, lighter meals can be so detrimental. A breakfast of tea and toast, or a lunch of a simple broth-based soup, provides almost no meaningful protein signal to your muscles. Over a day, a week, a year, this pattern of underfueling your muscles leads directly to the crumbling wall of sarcopenia. Understanding and overcoming anabolic resistance is the key to unlocking a stronger future. And it all starts with reevaluating the role of protein on your plate. Now let's confront the first and most pervasive myth: the belief that I already get enough protein in my diet. Most seniors, if asked, would likely say they eat a balanced diet and are doing just fine. But the scientific evidence tells a different story. Studies consistently show that a significant percentage of adults over 65 fail to meet even the minimum recommended daily allowance for protein, let alone the optimal amount needed to combat sarcopenia. The current minimum recommendation is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But a growing consensus of geriatric and nutrition experts now strongly recommends a higher intake for seniors, suggesting a target of 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or even more for those who are active or recovering from an illness. What does this mean in real-world terms? Let's take a 150-pound person, which is about 68 kilograms. The old minimum would be about 54 grams of protein per day. The new, optimal recommendation would be between 68 and 82 grams per day. Now let's look at a typical light day of eating for a senior. A bowl of cornflakes with milk for breakfast, about 8 grams of protein. A can of chicken noodle soup and some crackers for lunch, maybe 10 grams. And a small piece of fish with some vegetables for dinner, about 25 grams. The total for the day is only 43 grams, well below even the bare minimum, and miles away from the optimal target needed to overcome anabolic resistance. This is how, without even realizing it, we can be slowly starving our muscles day after day. The first step to solving this problem is acknowledging that it exists and that our perception of enough may need a serious update based on the new science of aging. This naturally leads us to the second, and perhaps most powerful, myth that prevents seniors from embracing a higher protein diet: the deep-seated fear that too much protein is bad for my kidneys. This piece of advice has been circulating for decades and has caused an immense amount of harm. It is a classic case of taking a specific medical recommendation for a very sick population and incorrectly applying it to the general, healthy population. The truth is this: for an older adult with normal, healthy kidney function, consuming a higher protein diet within the recommended range of 1.0 to 1.2 g/kg is not only safe, it is essential for health and is not associated with kidney damage. The origin of this myth comes from the fact that patients with pre-existing, severe, chronic kidney disease are often placed on a protein-restricted diet. This is because their kidneys are already so damaged that they can no longer effectively filter the waste products of protein metabolism. The diet is a medical necessity to prevent further harm to already failing organs. However, for a healthy kidney, processing protein is simply its job. It's what it is designed to do. Telling a healthy person to avoid protein to protect their kidneys is like telling someone not to walk on their legs to preserve their knee joints. Of course, it is absolutely vital that if you have been diagnosed with any form of kidney disease, you must follow the specific dietary advice of your doctor and registered dietitian. But if your doctor has told you that your kidneys are functioning well, you can and should put this fear to rest. The risk of sarcopenia and the frailty it causes for the vast majority of seniors is a far greater and more immediate threat than any hypothetical risk to healthy kidneys from eating a protein-rich diet. The third major misconception is the idea that all protein is created equal. While it's true that all protein is made up of building blocks called amino acids, the types and amounts of these amino acids can vary significantly between different food sources. This is the concept of protein quality. There are 9 essential amino acids, which are the bricks that our body cannot manufacture on its own. We must get them from our food. A protein source that contains all 9 of these essential amino acids in sufficient quantities is called a complete protein. Animal-based foods, like meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy, are all complete proteins. Most plant-based foods, such as beans, grains, and nuts, are incomplete, meaning they are low in one or more of the essential amino acids. However, this is easily solved by combining different plant foods, a practice known as protein complementation. The classic example is rice and beans. Separately, they are incomplete. But eaten together, their amino acid profiles complement each other perfectly to form a complete protein. But there's another layer to this story that is especially relevant for seniors. One of the 9 essential amino acids, a superstar named leucine, acts as the primary on switch, or master trigger for muscle protein synthesis. It's the foreman on the construction site that blows the whistle and tells the crew to get to work. To overcome anabolic resistance, we need to consume enough leucine at each meal to flip that switch. Animal proteins are generally richer in leucine than plant proteins. This doesn't mean that a plant-based diet cannot support muscle health in seniors. It absolutely can. It simply means that one needs to be more mindful, perhaps consuming slightly larger quantities of plant protein, or focusing on leucine-rich plant sources like soy, to ensure that the leucine threshold is met. Understanding protein quality allows us to be more strategic in our food choices, ensuring every gram of protein we eat is working as hard as possible to keep us strong. Having established why we need more protein and debunked the myths that hold us back, we arrive at the most practical and important question. How do we actually do it? The secret is not to just eat more protein, but to eat it more intelligently. The most effective strategy, backed by a wealth of research, is to distribute your protein intake evenly throughout the day. This is often called protein pacing. Remember our discussion of anabolic resistance and the whisper that protein sends to older muscles? Our bodies also have a ceiling on how much protein they can use for muscle building at any one time. If you eat a very low-protein breakfast and lunch, and then try to compensate by eating a massive 12-ounce steak for dinner that contains 70 grams of protein, your body simply can't use it all at once. Much of that protein will be burned for energy or converted to fat, rather than being used to repair your muscles. The signal is too loud and comes too late. A far better approach is to aim for a moderate dose of high-quality protein at each of your 3 main meals. The target that researchers have identified as being most effective for triggering muscle protein synthesis in seniors is about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Think of it as sending 3 clear, distinct signals to your muscles throughout the day, reminding them to stay in building mode, rather than one overwhelming shout at the end of the day. Let's put this into practice, starting with the meal that is often the most protein deficient for seniors: breakfast. A typical breakfast of toast with jam, a bowl of instant oatmeal, or a plain muffin might contain only 5 to 10 grams of protein, falling far short of the 25 to 30 gram target needed to flip the leucine switch. This is essentially a missed opportunity to stop the muscle breakdown that can occur overnight. The solution is a strategic breakfast upgrade. Swapping that toast for 2 or 3 scrambled eggs immediately boosts the protein to 12 to 18 grams. Instead of a sugary cereal, opt for a cup of plain Greek yogurt, which can pack an incredible 20 grams of protein. You can stir this into your oatmeal to create a creamy, protein-fortified powerhouse. Another fantastic option is cottage cheese, with a half cup providing around 15 grams of protein. By starting your day with a protein-rich meal, you set a positive tone for muscle maintenance that lasts for hours. For lunch, instead of a simple salad, top it with a can of tuna or salmon, 25 to 30 grams of protein, or a grilled chicken breast. Instead of a clear soup, choose a hearty lentil or bean soup, which can provide 15 grams of protein or more, especially when paired with a slice of whole grain bread. Dinner can then be a more modest portion of meat, fish, or a plant-based protein source, as you've already been supplying your muscles with what they need all day long. This protein pacing strategy is the single most effective dietary change a senior can make to fight sarcopenia. This brings us to the final, crucial piece of the puzzle. You can eat all the protein in the world, but if you don't give your muscles a reason to use it, it won't be nearly as effective. Protein provides the bricks, but exercise is the signal that tells the body where to build the wall. Specifically, resistance exercise is the most powerful catalyst for muscle growth. This doesn't mean you need to join a gym and start lifting heavy weights. Resistance exercise is any activity that makes your muscles work against an opposing force. For a senior, this can be beautifully simple. The act of standing up from a chair and sitting back down slowly is a form of resistance exercise called a squat, and it strengthens the largest muscles in your body. Standing at the kitchen counter and doing wall push-ups strengthens your arms and chest. Lifting cans of soup or small milk jugs mimics bicep curls. Using inexpensive elastic resistance bands can provide a safe and effective workout for your entire body. When you perform these simple movements, You create tiny, microscopic tears in your muscle fibers. This is a good thing. It sends an urgent signal to the body. We need repairs and reinforcements here. Then the protein you've been eating all day is dispatched to that site to repair the tears and in the process, build the muscle back slightly stronger than it was before. The combination of adequate, well-timed protein and regular, gentle resistance activity is the undisputed, gold standard formula for combating sarcopenia. They work in perfect synergy. Food provides the potential, movement unleashes it. The truth about protein is that it is not just a nutrient. It is the raw material of your strength, your resilience, and your independence. By understanding your true needs, overcoming outdated fears, and adopting a strategy of smart distribution, you can take direct control over your physical destiny. It's never too late to start rebuilding your foundation. One strong meal and one simple movement at a time.